Hi guys, today we're taking a look at a sim racing cockpit. So this particular one is from Trak Racer, it's the TR8. Details are in the description below, including purchasing links. So this package is massive, you can see for yourself. It comes in 3 separate boxes and really large. So I'll be setting this up and testing it out with my Logitech racing wheel. So we'll initially begin by unboxing this. I'll show you what you get in the packaging and we'll begin with assembling it. So if you wanted to skip this part and you wanted to just see it in action, check out the chapters below and the timestamp will give you an indication of the point where it's fully assembled. So let's start opening this up. I've unboxed all the content now, and I was initially a little bit daunted by all the boxes, thinking how many components I'm going to have to put together, but it's actually not too bad. Looking at the instructions, bits you need to unscrew and rescrew again. You do get a bag of fixtures, you get a spanner and some Allen keys together with some screws in that. Step 1 is attaching some brackets onto the part where the seat's going to go. These are the 2 brackets. Here's the handle for adjusting the seat. We just need to take out these bolts there. We'll attach to the center points on here and adjust later if required. The front part of the lower frame where the pedals are going to go, just showing underneath, got some thick rubber on there to avoid it slipping on a surface, and the same applies on the rear part where the seat's going to go. Now we need to attach the rear to the front, and there's 2 points you need to bolt on there, lots of screws on here, and looking on this end there's some rubber that needs to be removed on either side. For that you can just take a screwdriver and pop it off. Same for the other side. There's 5 screws to remove on this, so 2 on each side and 1 on the top. Now we just need to slot in the 2 ends. Put the screws back in on both sides. Next, we need to move on to the front area. So similar rubber covers on each side, so we need to remove those. This is the part that will sit into the holes at either side, and there's 4 screws at either side. Now we need to place into position, and we just tighten up the screws either side. Next, let's move on to attaching the seat. So there's 2 screws either side, just there, and just attach it onto the frame area here. I've placed the seat in position, easier to do it off camera, and I've just made some adjustments at the bottom, just loosened it up to make it easier to put into place. Now let me tighten the sides up. Now a useful tip for this is just to loosen up the screws at the front and the back here. And then once you line it up, you can just tighten it up again. But this time, obviously using the Allen key because the gap's quite tight. Next, onto the shifter mount, and that's the bracket over here. It can be placed on either side, so the left or the right. And it's just a matter of taking these screws out, putting these brackets in place on either side, and the mount sits in place onto here. Now this was a real hassle to do. Best to get something like this, a screwdriver with a flexible adapter on there, and tighten like that. If you do with an Allen key, which you get on there, it's just going to take you ages to do. Let's take the screws off the shifter mount. There's a bolt on the other end of this, but it just needs to be screwed in there first. That's in position now, and we'll just put the bolts on the end. And we can tighten up with the spanner it came with. There you have it, firmly attached now. Now we need to attach the wheel mount, and that's just a matter of taking these screws out, place it into position here, and tighten it up again. Place this in position first, hold the other one in place, and tighten one of them by hand. And let me place the rest of them in position now. Now the final thing to attach would be the monitor stand, which would clip into the position here, but I'm not going to use that only because I'm going to go for my LG C1 TV over here, and that's 55 inch. And there we have it. It's fully assembled now. And I have to say, very easy to assemble this. I was surprised. I thought there'd be a lot of components to bolt together, but in reality, there's only 6. So the seat, the 2 lower parts there, the part over here, and then the wheel stand and the shifter stand, and that's it. Essential to have electric screwdriver. I used an impact driver on this, and that speeded up the whole process. Time wise, I'd say with an electric screwdriver, you're talking about an hour really. So far, initial impressions, really impressed with it. A good solid build to it. Let's get our wheel, pedals and shifter attached. So I've got the Logitech G923 here, together with the driving force shifter. This is more of a budget range and a starter wheel, I'd say. But if you're going for something high end like this, for a racing seat, you'd really want to go for something like Fanatec. But this is what I've got, so let's make a start at getting all these items attached. Let's begin with attaching the pedals, and for this we're going to bolt it on, and coming over to the plate here, you've got 2 screws on either side. The one up here is for adjustment, and what will be the easiest thing I think with this is to completely remove all the screws, take the plate off, attach it on, and then just screw it back onto here. Now we can just position the plate, line the middle up, and then just slowly move it around, reveals the screw holes, and we just tighten it up. 4 screws are in place now. I used the Allen key just because I didn't want to use the drill in case I damaged the pedals on this. Now, one slight irritation, would have been nice if they had washers to go underneath the screws to give slightly better coverage of the area. Not a big deal, I know, but just a nicety. So now we're ready to put this back into position on the frame. And there we have it, pedals firmly in position. Let's move on to the wheel. So there's 2 bolt points on here, and they sort of marry up to the holes that are just over here. Now with this, we've got to get the cables in first because you've got some cable management and the connection points are just underneath the wheel. So what I've done, the shifter and the pedal and power, I've got going underneath this. So we'll plug all this in first. And there we have it, that's on. And now finally onto the shifter. If I try placing it into position, you can see the lower part gets in the way. So what we're gonna have to do is remove this part. Very easy to do, there's 4 screws underneath that, and this area just comes away. And now lifting this away, there you go. Turning the shifter upside down, holding it against it, you can just see it lines up to these holes, and if I place it here, you can see it's gonna be this one. So it's these 2 to do. Let's get it attached. In the package, you get some Velcro straps for cable management. So you can see here, cables are all dangling. You don't want that. Let's tidy it all up now. And I'm going to use a few more Velcro straps to tidy up some of the additional cabling hanging. Wheel, pedals and shifter are firmly secured now, and the cables are nice and tidy, as you can see. They won't get in your way if you're coming in or coming out of the sim cockpit. Now looking at the sim cockpit, it has a really sleek design to it and solid build quality on there. There's 0 movement or flex from the frame, and this is due to the thick tube design on here. You can see that all the way through this. One thing that did surprise me was that it didn't really seem that big once assembled. On the floor, the frame covers 60 centimeters in width and about 128 centimeters in length. And that's just the lower part of the frame. And the shifter sticks out 16 centimeters. With the seat adjusted completely in, from the front of the frame to the back of the seat over here, the total length comes in at about 143 centimeters. And with it pushed out completely, it comes in at 158 centimeters. Now with this being a racing sim cockpit, it's quite low to get into. And just to show, see, you've got to bend down quite a lot to get in there. Once you're seated, it's quite easy to adjust the seat. There's a handle just underneath, just like you'd have in a normal car. You can see for yourself, lifting it up just lets you push it back and forth. The seat's a bucket seat and it's made from fiberglass, so it has a plasticky feel all the way round. It's very nice and comfortable to sit in. And for me, it's perfect. I'm 6 foot tall, around average slim build, But if you were on the large side, you may find it a bit of a tight squeeze. The width at the back is 37 centimeters. So that's the area over here together with the area just there. They say it's recommended for waists up to 40 inches and there's a weight restriction of up to 160 kilos. The seat cover is made from PU leather, so that's a fake leather effect. Then coming down here, you've got the handle areas here. It's made of plastic. Stitching obviously with their branding on there, and then coming further along you've got some suede effect material on either side, and here you've got foam padding along your back, and there's even padding along the sides just to add to that comfort. Foam within the seat as well, and that's removable together with the cover. So the cover is washable, but the material isn't breathable. So if you're doing very long periods in here, it may feel a little bit warm after a while. Once fitted, the seat is in a fixed position, but adjustments can be made to the tilt on there, and you can see the adjustment points. The same is on the other side as well. You've got adjustment points enabling you to bring the wheel forward or backwards, together with tilt action. So for bringing it forward or backwards, all you do is the bolts here and here, just loosen them, you can bring it forward. And with the tilt, it's just a matter of loosening these bolts there. With the shifter, there's no height adjustment on here, but if I come over here, you've got the ability to adjust the angle there. So by loosening these, you can just tilt it inwards or outwards. And obviously that will be depending on the side you've got it on, just to bring it slightly closer to you. With both the shifter and the wheel, you're going to need an Allen key to make those adjustments. And finally, the plate for the pedals. I've already mentioned this during assembly, but you can easily adjust this by hand using the adjuster over here, and then tighten it up by using an Allen key. Gaming in the seat is awesome. It feels really comfortable, and being a bucket seat, it keeps you in a racing position in comfort. This really does take sim racing to another level, giving you a more immersive gaming experience as you're in a racing position. So I'll be using this with my LG C1 55-inch OLED TV, together with my next-gen gaming consoles. And the whole experience is amazing. So in summary, positives wise, it's a solid frame with zero movement, gives a really immersive racing experience which you can't get when you're just playing off your desk or even using one of the basic frames that doesn't have a seat on there. Negatives wise, all this greatness does come at a price, and it's not cheap. And if you're with a waist larger than 40 inches, you won't be able to fit into the seat, unfortunately. On a minor note, it's a fixed position frame, so you won't really be able to pack it away. So you'd have to leave it permanently set up. So just make sure you've got sufficient space available. So there you have it. You made it to an end of another video. Hang around if you want to see some gameplay footage with the frame in action. If you're new to the channel, do consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you'll be informed of my next release. Smash that like button as it really helps me out. Thanks for viewing, and see you in the next one.